Hey everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 144. Big Box Steve and the mic, Big Smooth and Fresh Wes. Big podcast tonight, talking NFL off-season moves, give another top five in our entertainment media collection, and then anything else happening in sports we can recap as well. So don't forget to subscribe, like, watch till the end. We do have March Madness coming up. Those are going to be some exciting podcasts, so you'll want to tune into those. And then, of course, we'll stay on top of the NFL offseason as it goes. So let's jump right into NFL, right? So many things, so many moves around there. We were just
The
kind of chatting
biggest
about
move,
this.
the biggest move is Mac Jones to the Niners.
Hey,
Oh, when did that happen? I missed out.
something happens to Purdy.
You
You got
know,
Mac Jones,
it would have been better if he went to the Cowboys. It'd be fitting.
right?
Two most annoying stories.
So a lot of moves talk about, like so we were just chatting about the Bears and Raiders. That's a fitting place to start. Bears so far, you just talked about this, like they're filling some of the bad holes that they had last year, obviously offensive line. What do you think of that interior line, basically just re-signing or signing a whole new interior line? Did they do well? How are the contracts? What are the Bears looking like for that part?
I mean, it doesn't really matter what the contracts are. The key is to keep Caleb Williams upright and healthy. And that's the thing is when you got a rookie quarterback, you can do stuff like this. Um, Tooney for the Chiefs is really good, but they put him out at left tackle, which was not his position. He's great at guard. And then Dahlman was the best free agent center on the market. So they went and did that. And then trading for Jackson, he's serviceable, better than what they had. So now they go in with the 10th pick and they can go anywhere they want with it. They don't have to get an offensive lineman now.
Yeah, it really frees up their draft pick for sure.
They could get Tyler Warren.
Yeah, a little double tight end. They brought in Jared as well, right?
Yeah.
So that wasn't a bad pickup for them. And then they had one other signing that I like too. I'll have to go back to that one. But all in all, I think the Bears did well for themselves to start with, right? It's still a long off season, but it gives you a little bit more wiggle room. Now you can focus on other key positions, right? Where you might be able to get someone that helps you in the secondary or in the backfield or offensive or not offensive line, but wide receiver stuff like that. So I think right now I'm going with the Bears is grading them an A so far, and it's not often I get to grade their off-season moves an A, but so far so good.
They got Dio Abin
Yeah,
Abin
Bingo, 3 years,
Ingrovo.
48 million
Right, right,
for
right.
Craig Jarrett. So, so
Well, let's hear it for the Raiders. So what are the Raiders doing? What have they done? What do you
uh,
like? What do you not like?
Wes, you want to take that one or you?
Derek can start. I'll worry about it.
Well, Geno Smith was good. That was smart because I mean last year if they had a quarterback, they would have been at least a 500 team. Just a quarterback. Quarterback play by itself cost them I don't know how many games because their defense was good, but they didn't have any quarterback play. But now, four starters from their four or five. Hobbs, Chin. Oh, wait, no. Hobbs, Morig, Spillane, and Diablo. So four of their starters from defense are gone. Um, They replaced Morrig with Chin, which that was fine because Morrig was young and he was okay, good, but he wasn't worth the money he got. So Chin was that was fine. They right now replaced Hobbs with Eric Stokes, who's been injured most of his career, so that's not really good. But Hobbs was injured a lot during his career, so he got 48 million. And then with Spillane's the one that hurt the most. And they replaced Spillane with Landon Roberts, he's a run stopping linebacker. So they went for they went for cheaper, maybe can hit players instead of bringing back established players.
They got the Timu defense.
Pretty much they did because yeah, then they still have no. They need a receiver and a running back. Um, it was good that they re-signed Kuntz and Butler to their defensive line. Their defensive line is pretty good, but yeah, they need another linebacker. They need another corner, another safety, and a receiver and a running back.
That's a lot.
I mean,
How do you what do you think about it, Wes?
I just saw that they got Adam Butler. That's good. You know, players are good. You know, you need players. You need lots of players, I think. Um, but what I don't understand is Gino's contract. Now, they're going to sign him. What is he getting, what is he making right now? So that's what
I
I'm looking
think
at.
what the thing was he was gonna get they were gonna he's pretty much gonna get a Sam Darnold contract.
So it's gonna be 3 years, 30, somewhere
Something
around.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
around there.
it's about the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
It
he's
was something I
basically Sam
guess
Darnold.
the Seahawks offered him, but he declined because he didn't want to be there anymore.
Well, yeah, he's lost all the receivers. I mean, so yeah, I mean, who knows about them? I
And
mean,
then, it's one of those things, and I think it's a lot of people look at Geno Smith and they think of Jets Geno Smith. But and it's opened my eyes because I was like, he's okay. He's top 12-ish, and like some of the stats, I'm like, he's real like the fourth best under pressure, and so some of the stuff he does, like he has the most long touchdowns in the NFL right in the last 4 years. So I'm warming up to him. I would still rather, if they can, get Shador in the first round if he's available. And pull up Penix Cousins thing.
well, yeah, I mean, it's Cousins. I mean, when we're comparing Cousins to Geno Smith, it's like we're comparing apples to apples. I mean, it's basically the same, and it's fine for now. I mean, yeah, I didn't want Sam Darnold. So, but if we're paying more for Geno than Sam Darnold, then, but the problem with Sam Darnold is if you get Sam Darnold, it's like you're trying to win, right? But you're probably not going to win. You're probably going to be 500. Seahawks will probably be 500 with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, how does that affect Sam Darnold going over there? No DK, no Tyler Lockett.
Kind of sucks. Like, oh, there's no DK. It's like, I mean, yeah, Geno Smith wanted DK and Lockett and Jigma. It's like, it's like, yeah, I mean, he I like Geno the way he throws the ball, and I just don't like the way he gets injured. He's been hurt. He's getting a little older. Um, but for now, why not do it? Why not? But question is, are they going to draft somebody this year that's worth anything?
Yeah, with no guarantee, in the draft of getting a quarterback, I think they like we're weighing their options, saying if we don't get a quarterback, what are we going to do?
Yeah,
Right.
it's like I don't see the excitement about getting Geno Smith to do anything except sit on the bench. But I mean, for right now, you know, he needs weapons to throw to, and it seems like we don't have weapons right now. So you got
You got
Brock
Brock
Bowers.
Bowers.
You got Brock Bowers. That's it.
Well, you
Yeah.
got Jacoby Myers. I mean, he's the only one in the NFL that didn't drop a pass last year.
Yeah, he's not a bad possession receiver, but he's not explosive in the
No.
case that he's going
No,
to
he's a
take
number
away extra
two.
defenders.
You gotta,
But
that's why you have the draft. At this point, it's like there's, there's so many teams right now. It's like, okay, there's holes. Well, that's what the draft's for. So the question is there someone in the draft that they can get that's explosive on the outside?
So, Wes, would you at 6 take Genty, McMillan, or Golden?
I
That's a
don't. I
tough
mean,
one.
it's tough. I haven't seen enough McMillan. I didn't watch a lot of Arizona, so I don't know. I mean, and Genty, it's like I want to take him, but I don't trust running backs at 6 to the top 10. Golden seems more safe than anybody. He's got speed. He can catch, play big games. But 6 is awful high,
It is.
for Golden.
They, the least the receivers last year, though, I think helped out the receivers coming in this year as like some Neighbors as an example of somebody who really had an impact. He was a pretty high draft pick for a receiver. And so it's not outside of the realm. I mean, we know the Raiders have struggled drafting receivers early with some other picks in the past historically. So it almost seems like Genty's the safer pick in that case, because it fills a big hole in the backfield. Because at least you do have Bowers and Jacoby Myers, right?
Yeah, you need to explore. I mean, we're talking about Geno Smith, and the problem with that situation is they just need explosive. I mean, we need explosive playmakers. We need playmakers on both sides of the ball. And Genty has that ability to be explosive. I mean, he should be. Look at him in college. Now, does that translate in the NFL? I think it does. But you got to, you know. But the only way to know that is you take a chance. And at
Right.
this point, I think the Raiders need to take some chances. I would rather have that than take a chance on a quarterback, any of these quarterbacks. But
Yeah,
but then
Gino
again, we
though,
need a quarterback.
Gino had the benefit of not only the receivers in Seattle, but they did have a strong running game. Pretty good running backs in Kenneth Walker and Charbonneau, who were able to run the ball too effectively, which opened up some of those deep balls or those deeper passes for him. So you have to give him that in, Las Vegas as well, right? You have to give him some running game where they're not going to be like, okay, Gino's throwing again.
And to be fair, we don't really know how good Trey Tucker is because who's been throwing him the ball? You haven't really had someone with arm strength to throw deep balls. So you don't really know if how good Tucker would be with someone who throws deep balls, because like Garoppolo couldn't even throw like 5 yards. And then, gosh, last year, whew,
Yeah, it was pretty ugly last year throwing the ball downfield. Well, just back to Seattle for a second though. Like they got Darnold now. Like, what are their chances of making the playoffs? Does that help them, hurt them? I mean, obviously losing DK is not a good thing. Tyler Lockett getting a little older. Smith and Jigma was kind of going to his replacement anyway.
well, the Niners didn't get any better this free agency, so I might not have to worry about them.
Talking about they got better quarterback.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
They're releasing a lot of people though too.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of Purdy, and then Mac Jones is going to start.
Yeah.
They lost 11 players from the
I know.
Seattle team. 11 players. Like they
My
just
fa-
got axed.
My
Yeah.
favorite meme was them cutting the mascot.
Well, and the funny thing is like they have McCaffrey still, who you don't know if he's going to be healthy. And Kittle is not very young anymore. And then Ayuk has been injury prone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's his name? Clark, Ryan Clark on ESPN. He had this little bit about trading Christian McCaffrey, which I thought was interesting to listen to. Um, I'm curious for my when I'm watching this, I'm like, does Christian McCaffrey have that much trade value still?
Oh.
Given what I mean, yes, he's had some good seasons, especially at San Francisco, even, but the injuries that just have just plagued him his whole career. Like, how much real trade value is in Christian McCaffrey?
I mean, is it going to be any more than what the Panthers got for him? Because he's now older and more injury prone.
No, you can't get more than the Panthers got.
And Panthers got what, a third round pick?
He does no, he has trade value for one team, the Dallas Cowboys. Because you want to talk about desperation. Like even though they don't want to do anything in free agency, I heard that their first free agent pick was a long snapper. Like they're making all those moves and like they got a long snapper as like their first
Raider great Trent Sieg.
Who?
Yeah, who?
They
Exactly.
haven't spent more than $7 million since 2015 on a free agent.
Yeah, they're the only team that hasn't.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, man, I don't know if I need to fact check this because that sounds impossible.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Panthers got a second and a fourth and a fifth for McCaffrey. So now it's like going to be a third.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, well, let's say you are the Cowboys or anybody else. Are you giving maybe a second for McCaffrey? Like, how high would you go as a
I don't
team who needs a running back?
I don't think this draft has like
Yeah, too
15 good
many running
running
backs,
backs.
right?
Yeah.
But we know, like, they're none of them are better than a healthy Christian McCaffrey.
Maybe Genty.
Yeah,
Maybe someday, but not right now.
Yeah.
but you don't even know if he's going to be healthy, and if he has that problem, he might not be better. I
Well,
mean,
I'm sorry, Wes, go ahead.
I don't know. You might know more than I do. I haven't heard anything. So
Well, I was just going to say, are you going to give up a second round pick for McCaffrey, or would you rather draft Amari and Hampton or Judkins or Henderson in the second round or
Right.
third round even?
right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the team's situation, right? Like, if you're a team that is, we'll say Minnesota, for example, who just they're not going to re-sign Aaron Jones, or
No, they did.
they got Aaron Jones back. Well, in that type of situation, let's say they didn't, is that a type of team that would bring in a McCaffrey, right? Um, Something like the Steelers, maybe they don't want to stay with Najee, maybe they're not confident in that, but they have a lot of other tools, right? Now they got DK and they got Pickens, and their
They might
defense is
not have the
already
cap
solid,
space though.
right?
Plus, if they get Aaron Rodgers.
See, Aaron Rodgers as a free agent for the first time ever.
Yeah. And well,
Well,
and that's the thing is he only has the Steeler. Well, Steelers are his only option if he wants to win.
well, I've heard the Vikings.
I don't think.
There's this thing going around this morning. They're talking about how would it feel if Wilson goes to the Browns, right? And then Aaron's like, no, I want to go to the Vikings, and just leaves the Steelers without a quarterback.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
That is what someone said today. I was like, that's a real possibility.
Yeah. Well, and
You know Aaron Rodgers.
they can't get Cody Pickett back because he's signed now.
I know. I mean, all you got left is, let's say Purdy. Like, okay, I don't want to pay Purdy, so Purdy goes to the Steelers. We're just starting rumors here.
That's
Let's
right.
just think of the most ridiculous ideas.
You haven't brought up the most obvious thing is if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Vikings, he completes the Favre Favre career.
Right.
The tree. Because he started at Green Bay, went to the Jets, didn't work out, and then he went to the Vikings.
Yeah.
So can Rodgers even do that? Like, you can't do it, right? You can't go to Minnesota after Brett Favre did the exact same thing, because this has been talked about for a while now. Ever since Rodgers went to the Jets, this has been a thing. Like some point, Rodgers is going to end up at the
Dude,
Vikings.
Rodgers will do anything now. After New York, after the debacle and the disaster and the hit that's taken to his legacy, if he went, just think about it. If he went, if think about from his standpoint, he's like, well, maybe I'll just go to Minnesota and throw to the second best or best receiver in the NFL, and the probably the best receiver at number two, and Addison. And then I got Aaron Jones to throw out of the backfield. I got Hawkinson. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you're 40 something, you're almost 41 or whatever he is. And you're like, man, I want to get the most out of basically whatever I have left, and which is nothing. He literally has nothing left. And it's like, well, maybe if I just hobble back there and throw it to that Justin Jefferson guy or that Aston guy go over the middle, we might win. And their defense is legit. Their front seven,
Yeah.
their front seven is going to be legit. Their defense should be good. I mean, you're going to go to the Steelers and throw to DK, who's a one-trick pony, and then you got Pickens, the same one, and you don't know who your running back really is going to be. Their defense is supposed to be good. It wasn't good at the end of the year.
Yeah, they struggle a little bit there going in the playoffs on both sides of the ball, really.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think if I'm Rodgers, I definitely think Minnesota is a good landing spot.
And if you're Minnesota, you're like, okay, well, I mean, depending on how his contract's going to work out, because, okay, we'll try Aaron. Oh, he's not very good. Okay, we'll just put in J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
A
little bit of mentorship and learning on the job for JJ.
Is that really what you want if you're the Vikings, to have Aaron Rodgers mentor? Because he's not going to be a great mentor.
Dude,
It's more like he's going to burn the place down and destroy from within.
it's going to be probably in his contract. The first game of the season, when we're like on Monday Night Football, you're not carrying out the American flag. It's not happening.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I go to the Steelers because that's stability. It's Mike Tomlin. They always are 500 or better.
But look at the conference they're playing in. That's the difference.
It doesn't matter.
Look at the division they're playing in. You're
You
going
said that
against
at the beginning. Everyone said that at the beginning of the season. What happened? Steelers made the playoffs.
Yeah, and what happened?
They still made the playoffs. Everyone looked at the Bengals and the Browns as being
better. Aaron Rodgers, he is looking to he looks, I mean, they were laughing today. They're talking about comparing Russell to Rodgers, and they're like, wait a minute, Russell's been to one more Super Bowl than he has. He wants to go to a Super Bowl. He wants to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The reality is are you going to win it? Easy? Is it going to be easier path in the AFC or the NFC at this point?
Okay, but what about the NFC North? Is that really easy path?
Well, if Jared Goff plays like crap like he did against the fucking Commanders, yeah, it will be. You don't even know how he's going to play. And the Eagles is losing players. They're not, defensively, Eagles. I mean, when you think about it, do you want to go up against Baltimore, Bills, Kansas City, the Bengals? The Texans might be back.
Bengals are imploding. They're not paying anybody.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen. That's true. They might trade Joe Burrow. We don't know.
The Bengals have an interesting offseason strategy as well.
Piss off their players.
Oh, cheap. Yeah, their owner. Now they're starting to catch, like, what are you doing? Like, and Joe Burrow said exactly what he didn't want. He didn't want to lose certain players. And what happens? Oh.
Well, Hubbard, though, was kind of a interesting situation because he just retired.
Right. But Hendrickson's been one of the best defensive ends.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's got 10 plus sacks, last couple seasons, so he's definitely there.
And then
that was a big one.
Well, and it's like the Jerry Jones philosophy, because Jerry Jones is still doing it on his third time. He didn't learn from Dak or from CD Lamb, and now he's not learning from Micah Parsons. Because, oh, guess what? Raiders signed Max Crosby to his extension. Okay, that's cool. Then a day later, Myles Garrett now is the highest paid defensive end. Guess what, Dallas? Micah Parsons is going to want that money.
Yeah.
And Trey Hendrickson wants that money.
Well, Parsons is going to have to get it at the higher amount too, right? He might have to go higher than Myles Garrett to keep Micah Parsons happy.
Yep. Just like they had to do with Dak, who's the highest paid quarterback still,
Yeah.
because he waits.
'Cause
Which is fine for me because I love it because I can't stand the Cowboys, so it's great.
Yeah, the going back to the AFC NFC conversation about which division's tougher, that's an interesting conversation because I think each side has their own, strengths and what you don't want to go through. I think Philly, did a lot. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. They're going to be, defending champions. Detroit, you lose Ben Johnson, but you still have your core, right? You still have your team. So, and then the NFC North is going to be solid. I mean, I hope the Bears play better. Green Bay's not going to be horrible, and Minnesota's going to, and Detroit are probably going to be up there again as far as wins.
The Falcons will probably be better with Penix. The Buccaneers have improved. The Commanders have gotten even better. I
Yeah,
mean, we haven't talked about the Commanders. They got Tunsil and Debo Samuel.
that's gonna be an interesting team to watch next year. Although AFC top to bottom, I think is still stronger. If
It,
you're just going to take all the teams and say, what's a tougher division overall, my opinion would be the AFC top to bottom.
it has been in the past, but things could be changing. There could be, even though that you still have the reliable as Lamar Jackson, and you got Josh Allen.
The guy
You
named
got,
Patrick Mahomes.
but you never know. Next year, it could the pendulum could swing over to the NFC. It's going to eventually. Um,
Well,
but
the East, the AFC East is just.
what?
I mean,
Oh,
outside of Buffalo, it's pretty bad.
I don't know. Patriots spent a lot of money.
Right.
Patriots, man, they picked up a lot of players. Their core parts of their team. I mean, they've improved. They had to improve.
Well, we haven't
And it's
talked Drake
Vrabel.
May a lot, so let's talk a little Drake May in that sense. So we're going to get on the Patriots. We haven't talked a bunch about Drake May and his rookie season and what his future looks like. What do you guys think? How's Drake May looking? Was that a good draft pick for the Patriots? Like, what's your take on that?
I I it's I think it is a good pick because you just see the arm talent. He has the arm talent. That's undeniable. And it's not like he goes out there and has the arm talent and makes bad decisions. He played pretty well last year with nothing to throw to. I mean, Polk is your number one. Get a number one, and let's see. Or draft. It's like they get a number one. They start getting some pieces on offense, and then you'll see. I think he's got. What are your other options? There isn't another option. I mean, I guarantee you the Pittsburgh Steelers might be wishing in a couple days, man, I wish we had Drake May. I mean, think about it. Like you
Well,
don't
they could be
know
in trouble.
until you don't know until you have some playmakers around him. I think he's got the arm talent. I just don't know about. It's almost like they. It's like a Jerry Jones situation. He's doing a great job of getting players. How do you put it all together? How is it going to come together? I think they'll be better. I don't think they're going to be terrible. I think they might punch Buffalo in the mouth and win, split the series. I think they could sweep the Dolphins. I don't even think the Dolphins are that good. And when it comes to Jets, like the Jets are just a dumpster fire. So, I mean, you know what? Hell, they could be a 7th seed. And, they could. I just, You know,
Well,
there's
I
too
kind
many,
of. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
well, I don't. There's too many unknown variables.
Well, that's the thing is if with three they could get Travis or four they could get Travis Hunter, right?
Yeah,
And there's your number one receiver because they picked up Carlton Davis to go opposite Christian Gonzalez already. So then you got a number one, you've got Polk, you picked up Mac Hollins, who in spot duty makes plays. I mean, he did for Buffalo. You got Austin Hooper.
yeah.
So Travis Hunter as a wide receiver, huh?
That's what they're saying. I mean, they said that's
I, I, I would. What do you think? You know, is he going to play? How many plays is he going to play on defense, or is he going to play defense?
remember Troy Brown did.
Or well,
Yeah, no, but yeah, I think the full-time wide receiver, I don't know if I would pick Travis Hunter for that personally.
I would, I mean, at four, because the thing is you don't need him to be a shutdown corner if you're the Patriots. You got Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis.
yeah,
So you could bring him in on nickel and dime.
that would be the smart thing because he's a ball hawk. He's gonna, you don't want him locking up. I don't think he'd be better as kind of like in a dime situation. He's just roaming for the ball. He's gonna get picks, not locking up people. He's not gonna shut down. He's just he's a playmaker.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
you have to play every down to do that.
at this point, they might have to take him, right? If he's there and available, just because what else are you going to do? It's not like you're going to draft a quarterback.
Right. Well, I kind of figure what Abdul Carter and two quarterbacks might be gone by the time the Patriots pick.
Yeah.
And if
But
not,
even if he's
maybe
still
they'll
there,
trade down. If
get some more draft capital and
and then you can pick up McMillan or Golden.
yeah. Yeah, and well, and then the Jets. It's interesting. So talk about Fields went to the Jets with a pretty amazing deal. You
I mean,
know,
you're Fields' number one fan, and you even thought, "Oh my gosh."
yeah. There's a lot bad for the Jets, right? I'm not going to sit here and make the Jets out to be rosy, but they have a lot of young talent on their team. If you look at their most talented players, they're all under 30, number one, and most of them are in that mid 20s range. So, yeah, will the Jets be good next year? Probably not, of course, but they do have a nice core that they're building around. And if Justin Fields can settle in and maybe be a long-term quarterback for them, that could definitely help them to be able to draft and, make free agent moves in other positions. I don't see the Jets making the playoffs in the next couple years, but like I said, if Fields pans out as even a average or above average quarterback for them, in a few years, all of that talent they have is going to get older and be better. So we'll see what happens with the Jets. But that was a big contract. I hope it works out for Fields though, because I still don't feel like he got a chance in Pittsburgh at all.
You
Well,
know, you, you go to the Jets is where quarterbacks go to die, Steve.
well, yeah. I mean, I think for him, this is it for him, and it's either it's ride or die. It's like no, there's no other quarterback. There's like you don't have Zach Wilson behind you here. You don't have, you have Russell Wilson. It's your team, and no one expects anything from the Jets. So he just goes out there and plays, and we're gonna see what he can do. And he's got a few weapons. They need to add, a few more weapons, of course. But you got Garrett Wilson. We're gonna see what Garrett Wilson's made of too. I don't even know if he's really a true number one, but we'll see.
I
I
don't know
mean,
if he wants
I
to be
mean,
there anymore either.
and yeah, it's true. I mean, I think, I liked it better than having Aaron Rodgers because you know what? Aaron's gone. You knew he was going to be gone. But you know he's not going to be there. He's He's too old. Too
Yeah.
old. And Justin Fields is right in that, in the age range where you're either, you're either going to flame out and your career's over, or you're a career backup. You'll be end up like Marcus Mariota, or you're going to be successful. I think it's a great situation for him because it's like no one's expecting anything.
Yeah. No,
Like all
I
you're
agree.
doing is you know what? You run, you throw. You have to do whatever you have to do with that team because no one expects anything out of the Jets next year.
Yeah, and they're really just at this point saying, let's get as young and talented as we can, while staying young as possible. I mean,
And they
it's
might be one of the more exciting teams to watch in the NFL next year
yeah,
because of them. In Pittsburgh, it's like, no, it's like we're going to run the ball. We're going to do play action. You get your drops. In New York, it's like, hey, here's the ball. What can you do with it? I don't care if you run around like Fran Tarkenton and throw a 50-yard pass or a 50-yard interception. We don't care. We just want to see if you are the playmaker that you are Ohio State.
yeah, I like that the thought process. Hopefully, the Jets have the same thought process around Fields because like I said, he's young enough and he fits into that group of let's just get some young talent and see what we can do in a few years. Let's see. There's a couple other moves I wanted to hit here.
Well, I got one. What in the world are the Texans doing? The whole problem this year was their offense, like CJ Stroud couldn't, be taken, his offensive line was horrible, but then you got rid of two of the best offensive linemen they had.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of it's hard to understand. Does that pose a problem for them also, with their offense next year running the ball even as well, right? You're not just hurting Stroud, but now you're going to be you know putting more pressure on the running back. His name's escaping me. Mixon.
Singletary?
No, Mixon.
Oh, Mixon, right? Joe Mixon, duh.
Yeah, so they're putting more pressure on Joe Mixon to then go against more eight-man fronts, possibly having to really control the game on the ground as well, where if you're getting ready to your lineman, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
So Darnold's deal is 3 years, $110 million.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, 110. I thought it was 100.
Well, I thought it
Dang.
was $30 million a year, but I guess it's $33 million then. Something like that.
Yeah,
But
so this says 3 year, 110.5 million.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, when you
That's 30, almost 37 million a year.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's bonuses in there as well. I don't know what the breakdown of
That's
the
kind of what I
contract
think,
is.
though, that Geno's is going to be too.
Oh, geez.
But
no. Yeah, that was the one thing I was like, really? Like, but then again, it's the market. And I mean, we were talking about this the other day. We're looking how these contacts are so ridiculous. Like me, I'm like, okay, drafting a rookie quarterback. I'm going to try to get a first rounder so I don't have to pay this ridiculous yearly amount. And then I'm giving him 3 years. I go, you know what? Hey, I'll give you 3 years. You get me to a Super Bowl. Maybe you don't have to get me a Super Bowl. Give me to a Super Bowl, I'll pay you. If you don't, I'm not going to pay you. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's not going to happen. I'm not going to pay this ridiculous $37 million for Sam. Are you kidding me? Like, what world are we living in?
But I mean, that is the world, though. It's a quarterback heavy, it's contract heavy to quarterbacks. And I mean, look at all the guys that are paid now, right? And what they're paid.
Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence for a second.
Right.
The fourth highest paid quarterback in the NFL. What has he ever done? Nothing. What did he do? Nothing. Nothing.
And statistically, he hasn't done it very well either.
technically, Trevor Lawrence is tied for second
Right.
with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and our other favorite, Jordan Love.
I mean, can you tell me a time a few years back, and I get it, Darnold was in a different place, but you're like, thought that Sam Darnold would be getting $100 million contract? You couldn't have given me a good enough odds to make that bet.
Well, what's funny is remember when everyone was like, well, maybe the Ravens are going to trade Lamar Jackson, they are not going to pay him, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
He's the ninth highest right now, quarterback. Mahomes isn't even in the top 10.
Yeah, but when Mahomes comes up, you know what's going to
Oh,
happen.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like that list. So on that list of the top 10 quarterbacks, only one has won a Super Bowl
Right.
for, and that was Jalen Hurts this last year. And it wasn't, I mean, it's because he had a really good team. And then
No,
what? Burrow and Goff are the only other two to make a Super Bowl. So you got seven other quarterbacks that haven't even made a Super Bowl, and they're the highest paid players in the NFL.
I mean that's the way the league is gone, you know. I mean, look at what happened to running backs too, you know, like none of them are getting real paid anymore, right? Even the big contracts aren't big. They were
Tua, who was one hit away from retiring, is the sixth highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And that was after all his concussions.
yeah. Well, and defensively now they've set this expectation for edge rushers too. So you such a big amount of their cap of a team's cap. Now you're looking at my quarterback and my star edge, right?
Yeah, my star edge. Yeah,
We're paying them 60 million a year between the
it's
two of
so
them.
ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
you're paying, I don't care who it is. You're gonna pay him that much money. It's like, what would Bill Parcells do? Let me say it. Like, okay, um, I'm going to trade you and get a second round maybe and two good players for you. That's what he's thinking.
Right.
Like, I'm not paying you a $125 million contract to an edge, unless his name's Lawrence Taylor.
Right. Well, that would Parcells would have to do that then.
So, but no. Did you see the video of Belichick talking about how LT came in 5 minutes late, and and uh and Belichick afterwards he went to Parcells and he said, "Hey," he's like, LT showed up 5 minutes late again, and Parcells looked at him. He said, "Why didn't you just wait 5 minutes and start when he got there?" So classic. It's classic Parcells.
Yeah, that's great.
That's how much even though he gave Lawrence Taylor the most crap out of any. I've heard the stories how he used to he purposely tried to piss off Lawrence Taylor. Like he's like, "You're not that good. You actually kind of suck." He's
Yeah,
like
he
doing
knows.
that stuff to him, dude.
He knows he plays better angry.
Yeah.
So upcoming, let's put out some good rumors and some stuff. Like where are people going to land here? Any of these? I mean, obviously we talked Aaron Rodgers. What about Cooper Cup? There's a guy for the Raiders.
What? No, he wants to
They're
go
not
to
going to want to pay him. Who I
contender.
thought would be perfect would be because he is a Raider fan would be Keenan Allen.
No.
At least you get a possession receiver. You know,
Well,
and you probably don't have to pay him a ton.
And he was the he had the most touchdowns as a receiver for the Bears.
Right. Well, yeah, because Caleb was throwing to the ground. I think the ground had the most receptions.
I would, where I'd like to see Cup is the Bills.
yeah, I was thinking the Bills is probably the best. The team I hate to see him go to the most, even though it makes sense, is the Chiefs.
Oh God.
But they restructured
Yeah, they did.
and that really sucks because I don't want him to go to the Chiefs. But the most sense it would be the Bills because I still think they add Palmer. I don't care. Palmer's good, but they need obviously they're going to have to do receiver by committee and just have Josh Allen create. You know that and obviously they're not going to get someone who's going to stretch the field unless they draft somebody, which I don't see that happening. So why wouldn't you get Cooper Cup?
Hmm.
He might be the missing piece. He's
This,
like Julian Edelman.
this one's interesting, and we would never have thought of this, but Ian Rappaport reported that one connection that might be would be Jacksonville for Cooper Cup. Because Liam Cohen,
Yeah. I mean, would you want to? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter at this point for Cooper Cup, but do you want
I
to go
don't
play
know,
for
if you go to
Jacksonville?
Jacksonville because you really like Liam Cohen and you think, okay, that's an easy division to win.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, they could turn it around and like I said, it's not like I mean, maybe Trevor Lawrence needs a guy just he needs a security blanket. Yes, he needs a security blanket. He needs a lot of security blankets. But the best security blanket is like, I don't know what to do, which a lot of times it seems like what he's doing. Oh, there's Cooper Cup. Where's Cooper Cup at? You throw the ball to Cooper Cup. He's going to catch it. And that could be a winning formula.
Yeah,
It's not like they don't
Jacksonville
have
needs
players. It's
they
not
need
like
some
they're,
help.
yeah, it's not like they completely don't have players. They have, it's just maybe that gets them to win the division because the division might be up for grabs when you think about it.
Or maybe he'll go to the Bears.
Yeah, Caleb really
They're
needs
signing everybody.
to.
Maybe he goes to the Commanders.
That would be brutal.
I know I am putting some futures on the Commanders then immediately.
Yeah, Commanders there are already pretty set, but definitely bringing in a guy like Debo is pretty good because that really helps free up McLaurin.
Yeah, because that's going to be the problem next year is you know now now Dan the film on Daniels is going to be the most watched film because it was an unknown. It is an unknown variable. Next year, it's not going to be the case. They know McLaurin. He's going to be locked on McLaurin. We're going to roll over McLaurin. They need a second guy. Cooper would be actually a perfect fit there too.
Right.
But you can't do that.
Yeah, the Commanders are going to be an interesting story next year to watch, because you always wonder about the sophomore slump, will Daniels run into that, or will the Commanders be exposed in some areas that, maybe they slipped through the cracks last year? I mean, we remember the Bears game, like you got pretty lucky there and really turned your season into the Cinderella that it was. So they'll be fun to watch. All right. And then we didn't really talk about a couple of the other pickups where, like Bosa to the Bills, Joey Bosa to the Bills. That was interesting. What about Devontae Adams to the Rams?
We'll see because is it because I feel like Stafford doesn't really throw the ball around. You know what I mean? Because when Puka was hurt, Cup got all the targets, right? And then when Puka came back, Cup got nothing and Puka got all the targets. So, I mean, we'll see how much Devontae even has left. He didn't
Yeah.
look that great in the Jets. I still think he's a good receiver, and I'm not going to hold it against him that he's a jerk. But yeah, we'll see. Rams have a really up and coming defense, and with the Niners down I mean, it's the Rams division.
Right. Well, and Kyron's showed he can carry the ball and he can carry the team on the running side of it. And Puka obviously is really good. I think Adams showed flashes last year, where you could see him being a little bit of his former self. So yeah, I guess it depends on how he comes in, how much gas he has in the tank, how much he really works at it. And Adams is that kind of guy though. Like if he really
Yeah.
wants to, I think he can.
He's home.
But I have seen people argue that that could be the best 1-2 punch in the league.
Yeah. I mean, when Devontae Adams is healthy and wants to play, he's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I think it is a good fit because Stafford can just sit in the pocket. He doesn't really have to create so much. You can throw the ball in spots, and you know that Devontae is going to have the advantage over most defenders. You don't have to throw, you can throw it high. He runs pretty good routes. Of course, he's not what he used to be, but even a somewhat diminished Adams as a two,
Yeah.
to Puka Nakua being your one, like you're sometimes you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna throw it up there. And Stafford doesn't really have that with other receivers. Now he has that. So and Stafford's getting up there. He can't just run around and create anymore. He needs to sit in the pocket, and other players have to go up and make a play. And Adams can do that.
Well, I don't know that there's even at this point anybody better at not just running the back shoulder route, but catching the back shoulder throw than Devontae Adams.
And who's going to be better than him throwing it?
Right.
It's
Right.
like, okay, I'm just gonna okay, I don't know what to do. I'll just throw it to Adams' back shoulder.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop it.
That'll be an interesting thing to watch too. How does that wide receiver do? Um, Derek, you mentioned this one earlier, which is also a big one. DJ Reed to the Lions, and Josh Sweat to the Cardinals, and then Milton Williams to Patriots. All three of those are really good pickups.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of upset because I really wanted the Raiders to get DJ Reed because I think he's a number one shutdown corner. But no one realizes that because he was playing with, um, God, why am I blanking? Why am I thinking Revis? It's not Revis. It's um the Jets. Come on,
Oh,
who's
Sauce Gardner, yeah,
yeah, Sauce Gardner. Gosh. Anyway, but Reed was the one that they targeted, and he did great
right.
because they weren't going after Sauce. So that's a really, I mean, Carlton Davis was good, but I think DJ is an upgrade.
Yeah,
And he was cheaper.
he's not real big though. And a lot of corners I get it aren't big, but I think that's probably his only downfall is he's a little smaller.
And that just means he's
But
got more
great for the
dog in
Lions
him.
though. Although at that, I almost like the Milton Williams pickup for the Patriots better of those three. I think that's a really good pickup for them.
Yeah, not for that price though. I
Well,
mean,
it's
he
man.
he had a good Super Bowl, but he only had like 6 career sacks, right? Isn't that something like he has? That's all.
Well, he had five of them last year.
Yeah. I mean,
He's got 11 and a half career.
11 and a half. Well, that's the thing with the Eagles. You're like, oh my gosh, Eagles lost so much, but they didn't because they have so much depth.
Right,
Milt Williams was their third defensive tackle. They have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter.
right. Yeah, the Eagles are going to be fine. I'm not worried about the Eagles. I worry about the Cowboys because
They haven't replaced
they're
anything.
not
They
doing
don't sign
You
anything.
any
know
free
what?
agents.
But I'm not worried about the Cowboys because I think it's awesome.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there that share your
Like
mindset there,
it's like
Wes.
it's like a train wreck. It's like Yes, football is men's soap opera, and
Yeah.
they are as the world turns.
Also, I think the 49ers fall in that category too. Like a lot to unanswered questions on the players that are returning and their health, and then cut to so many cuts.
Well, they're just, I think the Niners believe in their drafting. You got what, Pearsall to take over for Debo. Um, Mitchell leaving is interesting. He going to the Chiefs because if McCaffrey's not healthy,
Right.
that's big.
But the Raid or the 49ers are going to draft a running back in this draft. You can't
Yeah.
have that many good running backs, and they might
Yeah.
take two of them.
And then, getting rid of their fullback. No, I mean, he's a great fullback, but no one cares about fullbacks.
Right. That's a team builder, though. Like sometimes you just got to keep people like that,
Yeah.
for the sake of the fan base, even.
I think he's
Now they
still
don't get
upset.
to
I
like,
think he's still upset about the Super Bowl. I think there's a lot of let's get rid of this guy, dude. I think he's still pissed.
He should be pissed at himself. Stupid coach.
yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot of stuff in there. Yeah. So
Then like Hufanga and Greenlaw were both injured, like lots of injuries. Um, that was another one. I wanted Greenlaw to the Raiders once they lost Spillane, but of course, no, he goes to the Broncos.
this is funny. Uh, Referring to Anthony Richardson as Daniel Jones as a quarterback battle. Is that
Yeah.
really a battle?
Well, they paid Daniel Jones a lot of money for a backup.
Yeah. But there's no chance that he comes ahead of a healthy Anthony Richardson.
Well, that's the whole goal is that he doesn't. You know what I mean? But they did get him there to push Anthony Richardson.
Right.
And we talked about that last week. That's what we
Yeah.
thought. Daniel Jones would go to the Colts.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch too. The Tunsil, yeah, the Commanders, man. That's a good pickup. Well, that kind of wraps up this week in free agency. Still a lot of moves to be made though, right? No, like kind of blockbuster trades or anything like that yet? Do you think there'll be anything coming up closer to the draft, or are teams going to kind of hold steady till the draft?
Well, I mean, don't you consider Tunsil a blockbuster trade? He is a bookstone left tackle.
Yeah, I mean it was a good pickup for the Commanders. I mean more into with like draft picks, people moving around.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because it's a year where the quarterbacks aren't really held in high regard. I mean, I think it was Mel Kiper was saying that basically Cam Ward would be after Bo Nix.
Yeah.
It was last year. And even Mel Kiper was like, I didn't have Bo Nix as a first round grade.
There's not a lot, that's for sure. We talked about that before. I don't think a team would be disappointed with drafting Cam Ward, though, when they have that position need.
Right. Yeah, no, I like Cam Ward. I wouldn't mind Shador. The people talking about Dart in the first, that's where I would kind of draw the line. Second
I
round,
watched a lot of
okay.
Jackson Dart actually, though, this year, and he was pretty good.
Is he first round good? Or I guess if we're talking back end, trade back into first round, I'll be okay with that because that's when you can get like a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I would say early second for Dart.
Well, when we get closer to the draft, that's the fun part is you kind of looking at different positions or where their draft position is, right? And who's going to be available. And as those things come off the board, it's hard to make those trades this early in the off season to try to guess, where if your guy's going to be there or what position you need to be in to get that person.
But yeah, like if Rodgers doesn't go to the Steelers, man,
I don't know. Minnesota,
because Russell Wilson is meeting with the Browns and the Giants.
right? What? Yeah, so I guess if you're the Steelers, well, who do you want? You want Wilson or Rodgers?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know that I want Wilson to stay if I'm on the Steelers,
Right. Because I don't know how well it gets along with DK Metcalf even.
right? I mean, there's another piece of the puzzle. But I'll just, he had moments, of course, when he first came back, and I don't think people were expecting him to play as well as he did, and everybody kind of almost jumped on the Russell Wilson bandwagon, until they lost like their last six, and then they're like, well, maybe we spoke a little too soon on the old Russell Wilson stuff.
Yeah, but do you consider Aaron Rodgers a sure thing either?
No, but it's a short term. Like I said, we're talking short term. Like let's say we're talking about 1 year. Do you want Russell Wilson or do you want Aaron Rodgers?
Well, you already know Russell Wilson in the building. You don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do in that clubhouse.
Yeah.
How, like, is he going to be able to talk down to DK Metcalf and Pickens, or are they going to go and take him out back and beat the crap out of him? Right?
I mean, those two are pretty heady players, especially at wide receiver. They both of them think they're a lot better than they are.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the problem. And I'm sure that Tomlin is this is not the most ideal position he wanted to be in here because number one, why did you get Fields in the first place? Because he was younger and you wanted to see if maybe he could be your starter. Okay, he's not your starter now. So now you got old Russell Wilson and older Aaron Rodgers. And both have got so much baggage when it comes to off the field issues, when it comes to how they interact with the team and what kind of leadership are they bringing to the table. Do people respect them? You don't know who's going to respect Aaron Rodgers in that locker room after everything that's gone down. There's going to be players like, why do we want him? Look what happened to the Jets. He played like 3 plays after carrying out the American flag because he thought he's Captain America. How did that work out for everybody? How did it work out for Jets fans? How does Jets fans feel about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, you don't
So
you don't want to follow the
dudes
Jets.
with terrible towels that have won 6 Super Bowls and had some of the greatest teams of all time and the most Hall of Fame players feel like, are we going to let this guy in our organization? How does Tomlin feel about it?
Yeah.
Does Tomlin like, okay, you're holding a gun to my head because I have no choice here. I have 2 choices. I either take Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. He's probably like none of the above, but what other choice do I have? They don't have any other choices. They have to take one or the other.
Everyone forgets though, Tomlin, when they're on the Steelers, they're not crazy. When they go off the Steelers, all of a sudden you got a bunch of crazy players. So Tomlin must be doing something right.
Well, he's a good coach. He demands respect in his locker room and on his field. I don't think anybody gets away with playing for Tomlin and not doing it the right way.
And what do the Steelers have no options? They have to.
One or the other.
That's it. And then that's what I'm saying is if Russell Wilson's meeting with the Browns and the Giants, he's kind of decided he's like, I'm out.
Yeah, he's out.
Well, the Giants are interested in Rodgers as well.
Yeah.
So what if Rodgers goes to the Giants and Wilson goes to the Browns? Now what do you do in the Steelers?
You got to trade for Kirk Cousins.
Oh, jeez.
Seriously, though, that's
your best option.
Your best option.
It's your best free agent left. You don't really have options.
That's what we're calling it. We're calling it Kirk Cousins to the Steelers on a trade. Is that our
I mean, they're going to get desperate because what else is out there? Joe Flacco?
I like it.
Hey, the Steelers went to the Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah, and
it's
that
like
was
the
pretty
same
bad
thing.
Super Bowl.
It was like the worst Super Bowl ever for a quarterback.
And I mean, look, dude, Ravens went with Trent Dilfer. I mean, it happens.
But okay, they also didn't have, Bam Morris running the football. I mean, they don't have Bam Morris. They don't have that type of running game anymore. Najee's gone. You know, it, you know, yeah, they're in a tight. Aaron Rodgers is he wants what he wants, and now he has all the leverage in the world. It's like, oh, I already know he's out. He's one. Russell's 1 foot out the door. He's already gone. You see him here now. He's already gone. That's Russell Wilson, so he can do whatever he wants now.
Because if the Steelers wanted Russell Wilson, they would have already
Yep.
re-signed him.
You
Yep.
think so? You think they just don't want Wilson anymore, huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Did the Steelers get rid of Najee, or are they not
Yeah,
re-signing him?
he signed with the Chargers.
Okay.
Chargers brought back Mike Williams too.
Oh, but so they signed Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah. So
Well, at this
Gainwell
point, like I don't
gone.
know that you want to stick with Najee anyway, so it's not
Yeah.
horrible.
And there's so many running backs. I mean, you're going with a rookie running back.
Yeah, they
Pick, pick your
100%.
pick your rookie one running back. Which one you want?
Well, they still have Warren as well, though.
Yeah.
Well, but he's okay, but
Yeah, he's a
you,
good third
you
down
need
back.
running back by committee there now.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting how the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh plays out. I'd like to see this, so we'll see it.
That's a
Larry, wishing they
hard
had
knock
Pickett
preview.
back.
Hard knocks preview right there. Hard knocks Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
They aren't doing hard knocks anymore because of the Giants.
What? What are you talking about?
No NFL team wants to do hard knocks
Oh yeah.
because of Joe Shane and
Yeah.
him making the Giants look like complete fools with Saquon Barkley.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, the Bears last Hard Knocks was the same thing though. They made us all look like fools because they're like, look how awesome the Bears are going to be in Hard Knocks.
Yeah. Trust me, the Raiders know. Knock if you hear me, feel me.
It's like the Madden curse. It's the same.
Well, that's
That might,
they
but that might be
only
in Aaron Rodgers' contract. He's like, look, I want to be on hard knocks.
so I could tell my manifesto.
I could spread my knowledge to everybody. Better,
Right.
more effective platform.
It's just gonna be hard knocks, Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
He's just gonna talk the entire time.
They're going to follow him around with a camera.
Yeah. We're gonna go on our blackout retreat.
Right. But first we're gonna eat these mushrooms and then we're gonna go on our retreat. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get Tomlin to eat some mushrooms.
he's like, don't worry, I'll come back as a much better player and a much better version of myself.
Yeah.
Next he's gonna be like, I should do a ketamine coma for 2 weeks before the season starts.
Oh.
You gotta love Aaron Rodgers though. Come on. All right. Well, let's wrap up off-season NFL stuff there. Definitely more to come. We'll keep watching and next week and give new updates and see if we can get some new rumors going. So let's jump to part two. This is going to be our entertainment section. I think we got a good top five this week. Last week's top five was really great. A lot of shorts we posted from that and a lot of views. People must have enjoyed our top five comedy movies. So we're gonna move on to something. This is down a lot of people's alleys because we're doing top five binge worthy TV shows, our favorites. But that's a big thing, right? Like binging has kind of become a way to watch TV shows. or series. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what. It's not TV per se. It could be premium channels or whatever. Um, it's kind of the way to watch now, right? I mean, I thought about that as like I won't pick up a series if it's like you got to wait till next week to see the next one.
Yeah.
If I can't watch them all when I want to watch them, like I'll watch it later. Like I'll come back in a few months when they're all out and then, binge it.
Yeah, that's what we do. It's like, oh, okay, they're doing week by week. We'll wait until they're all out and then watch them all.
Yeah. Because it reminds you too much of your childhood. Remember, it's like you're like, man, now I got to wait till next week to see what happened with Punky Brewster.
Did they get out of that? Did they get out of that refrigerator? And then, yeah.
And nobody knows who Punky Brewster is anymore. All right, so HSC Podcast top five bingeable shows, and I mean, to be honest, like I wasn't super strict about the type of series I put on here, so what I was looking for and kind of how we go there is like why you like it, and what makes it bingeable, right? What
Mhm.
made it a bingeable series for you? So let's start with number five. Uh, I'll lead us off number five. So my number five, I'm going a little deeper into history. It's a little older, um, but was great at the time and still holds up to today if you go back and watch it, which is the X-Files. What I loved about the X-Files is you can watch multiple episodes in a row and it keeps you interested the whole time. They were very good about shifting their plot to different types of phenomenon or different types of the X-Files, as you'd call it. Really good acting in from all roles. I think there wasn't much that you could say didn't fit within the storyline in their roles. And of course, Mulder and Scully are famous for being Mulder and Scully, but both of them did a really, really solid job at their parts. And it's something that you can watch a lot of episodes for a long period of time. You don't get really bored with it, but it keeps you interested. But it's also not something that I would watch over and over and over again, which for me makes it more bingeable because you kind of just want to watch it that once or maybe watch it again 10 years later and you want to watch them all. So that's my breakdown of the X Files, and I got them at five.
See, a lot of like for me, you think about it is like HBO. If you didn't have HBO back in the day and you do now, then you got all these shows. You're like, oh man, and I want to watch this one. And that's where my number five comes in, and it's Oz.
Yeah.
Uh, when it's from 1997, but I just watched it last year for first time, and it was one where I gotta see what's happening next. So it was 6 seasons, and yeah, that was like a 2 week thing, but I got through that 6 seasons because I had to see what's going to happen next. Um, Oz is about being in a prison system, and it's Oz is the this one warden has decided to create this area that is different from the rest of the prison, and this was called Oz. And it's got tons of good people, J.K. Simmons, Christopher Marloni, and Harold Pereru, and lots of other, like tons of people in it. And it's just a really good show. It's a really brutal though. It's kind of like sometimes you're like, ugh.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I watched it when it first came out a couple times back then. Um, HBO always did a really good job with that, though, of making their series really interesting and where you didn't
Yeah.
want to put them down because they tie their storylines from episode to episode really well. Yeah, that's a good one. I might have to go back and watch that again. It's been a long time. All
Wes has
right,
got
Wes,
it now.
what do you got at five?
Well, I got this one because it's always on and they always have like 10 episodes in a row and I'll watch it late at night. It's Parks and Rec. I mean, just because it's Ron Swanson, the golfer man. Adam Scott. I mean, it's Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt. You know, Amy Poehler's, of course, good. It's just fun. You know, it's just kind of like, something to just kind of make you just zone out from everything. It's just a fun show. So I'll watch five or six of them in a row.
Oh yeah, easy. It's you're right. I mean, it's great because it puts you into like a different reality or almost mentality of the comedy and just getting involved in it. I agree. That's but Chris Pratt is so good. There's just every episode it seems like you're just it's a new thing he's doing or says or does and just every time it's just hilarious.
Well, that's what's great about that show is because yes, Chris Pratt's great, but like you said, Dick Offerman, Aziz Ansari is great. Even John Ralphio coming in like here and there. That is a great show. And what it's spawned Galentine's Day is a big thing now around Valentine's Day. And then me and my wife do we it's on my calendar when it comes up, but treat yourself day.
I'll have to add that to my calendar.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
that's
it
a good
when it
one.
is the actual day for treat yourself.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Let's see, number four, Derek. What do you got?
I'm going with one of my comedies here, and it's Schitt's Creek. That one, yeah. When we first watched it, we binged that one real quick. And then we had to wait for we watched it and then another season came out, so then we had to wait. But yeah, that show is so funny. It's so good. Um, Eugene Levy and his son, Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, I love Eugene Levy's style of acting. I've always loved it. And it's he sometimes sounding like he's trying to be funny, but he just is.
Yeah,
I watched a good bit of that show. I have not seen all the series though.
I just love it because they were rich and then they don't have any money, and he's the only one that's like, we don't have, we gotta,
Right.
and then they're like, what? Still trying to spend a
Spending.
bunch of money.
Right. Yeah, it's funny though too. I like it does bring a good a different style of comedy than some of the other, what you'd find funny in different series. Them and Brooklyn Nine-Nine have a similar like comedy style.
Right.
Those two series for me. Let's see. Number four, Wes. What do you got at four?
Well, I haven't really binged a lot lately, but the one that I have binged, like when I have this, I still have this set. I've had it for a few years. Is the Tudors.
Oh
The
yeah.
one, the one when I first bought it, I watched the whole thing. Like I binged the whole thing. Um, Natalie Dormer just plays a great Anne Boleyn. Henry Cavill's my favorite character in the movie. And Henry VIII, it's about Henry VIII and his reign and just the complete his wives and it's there's so many great supporting characters. Thomas Cromwell plays it's played by the James Fraun, I think. Yeah, he was great. Yeah, so that was one of my favorites, just to binge watch.
It's really good because there's not a lot of series in that time frame of history, number one, that are any good or really popular, right? And so it's very unique, I think, in the sense of to make a real good series about that time in history. So I like that for that reason as well. But I thought the show itself had a great storyline. Their plot keeps you interested the whole time. I really liked that when it came out. That was a show I watched a lot of. So another good one there. Man, there's a lot of shows that we're gonna be watching here soon.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, number four, I would typically put this higher in just like saying how good of a series it was. But it's not bingeable for everybody as it is for me, and it's an HBO also, and it's Entourage. the way they put that together and the way the series flows from beginning to end, it's really hard to stop watching it because you just can't wait to see what happens next and where the entourage goes and where the careers go and where their lives go. And they really build the characters in a way that as the audience you identify with them and you want to see and you want either bad or good things for them depending on the character, and so a really well done series, as far as the writing goes and the storyline. And I think they put four guys together in the group that all fit the right role. Like that was perfect for each one of them. And it's just one of those that you can just watch the whole thing start to finish and you're satisfied. So good series there. Another HBO too. All right. So top four and five knocked out. What do we got here at three? Wes, what do you got at three?
Well, again, this is one that's always on, and it's my go-to when I really, especially if like, okay, I don't want to stay up too late, but because it'll keep me up because I'll be laughing so much. Is South Park just because they'll have them on like 12 in a row,
Yeah.
right? And uh, and I'm like, some of them are just like, oh my God, like I shouldn't be watching this right now, but I mean, just those so many episodes I've watched, and there's so many I've never seen.
Right.
Like there's like I will watch like 5 or 6 of them, or 7, 8, and there's like I've never seen this, never seen this one, never.
Yep.
Seen. So
I found that out recently too, how many I hadn't seen. Um, I've been sometimes I'll fall asleep to it, because I watch the first couple episodes and then I just get tired and I fall asleep and it helps me. But it's the same thing. It's like I'll watch two, three episodes and I'm like, man, I've never seen one of these, and then it's just so out of control. Like it's unbelievable that it was on TV when it was and how long it lasted and just how many seasons and episodes and just not afraid to take on any issue anytime anywhere. It just did not matter. uh with the stuff happening with Canada right now, there's a funny Canadian one that's all over the internet now. It's a clip from one of the ones where they're like, Canada was like, "Oh, we're gonna fight for what?" And they're like, "What do you want?" And they're like, "We want more money." That's right, we want money. They all go on like protest and starve in Canada. I was like, it's hilarious.
Was Terrence and Phillip out there?
Yep, of course they were. But yeah, I agree. South Park is it's one of the most bingeable because it just episode after episode, you're like, they can't do that. All right. Number three here. This was a tough one for my top three. And again, I'm going to go back old on this one. And yeah, maybe you got to be a little bit more of on the nerdy side to appreciate this one. But it's Star Trek: The Next Generation.
whoa,
Dude, let me tell you, I recently binge watched this. Not recently, maybe it was about a year or two ago. And you can't binge watch the whole thing because there's like 25 episodes a season, dude, and it's ran for like 10 seasons. So I couldn't make it obviously through all of them, but it's the same thing as when you watch it. It's so far ahead of its time. And like, the storylines were good. All the characters were being developed in different stages. It wasn't focused on one more than another. And then they just did all these cool things. Like they had where they're like going back in time and into the 20s, and then they have a holodeck, and like everything they were doing was it's just super cool to watch, especially considering the time that they were doing it. But and storylines are great. I mean, you got Jean-Luc Picard. Come on,
you got Wesley Crusher, dude.
Wesley Crusher.
Hey, alter ego, Wesley Crusher.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many people in it and on it, and do one episode or a couple episodes, and yeah, it's just really good. And if you haven't seen it in a while and you watch a few episodes, you're like, man, this was a great show.
Dude, the Borg, man.
Oh man,
The
because
Borg was hardcore.
that's one of those bingeable things. Like the Borg comes in, you're like, okay, now I got to see the next three episodes because I got to
Yeah.
see what happens. So I had to throw that in there because one, it's I love Star Trek and any of the Star Wars stuff, but it's also older and for its time was really ahead of its time. All right, Derek, what do you got at three?
My number three is one that I caught like towards the end of the show run, so then I had to go back and binge the whole thing. But it's probably one of my favorite shows to watch just because it's funny and it has like mystery to it, and that's Psych.
Oh man, it is funny.
And it's like for a Gen Xer, it's perfect because there's so many little nods to the 80s in it too. Like so many, like
Yeah.
pop culture wise.
Well, it's been a while since I've seen that show. I mean, I was watching Psych like late 2000s, right? Like 2007, 2008 area.
Yeah, it started 2006, ended 2014.
Yeah. So it's been a long time for that since I've seen that one, but it was very good. I liked it a lot.
Well, then they've had a few movies.
Hmm. I mean, can't disagree with that. That's a good one. So far, I mean, I'm actually been a little shocked at the different series that we're all throwing out here.
Well, there's so many freaking series.
I know.
I
Like
mean, think about it. It's
you
just
wouldn't expect a lot of double ups, right?
Right. Well, I'm just surprised Steve has seen every single one of the series we've talked about.
Yes, unfortunately, I've seen almost all of them. Oh man. Uh this one this is probably a little more mainstream than I like to go on this type of top five, but I also will watch this show and the series and the new series and everything over and over and over again because it's that good. And that's The Walking Dead. They do such a great job of not having like the overcompensating when apocalypse mode, like it seems very believable in how they set it up and how they move throughout the areas and but then they have such great storylines of what's happening and stuff that you're like there's no way that just happened when they kill someone off or something like that. And you're like, how can you do that? Like I've been watching this show for six seasons and now you're going to do that, and that's the kind of thing they always had in that show, which makes it really good. A couple of the there's a couple of the actors that did okay, but for the most part, they all played their roles really well. But the lead, the guy who plays Rick, he um, he makes that series so good. He's the type of guy that you would think was a sheriff somewhere, and that when Apocalypse came, like he just played the role perfectly. And so I watch it over and over again. I like the new ones that come out. They've come out with the spin-offs, and it's a great series. So that's two for me. What do you got at two, Derek?
This one is is newest. It just ended this January. And I swear, Wes, I've been talking to you to see this forever, and you probably still haven't watched it. But it's Cobra Kai.
You can't tell me you haven't watched Cobra Kai yet, Wes.
I've watched some of it,
Okay.
not much.
Oh man. Well, give us the breakdown because it's really good.
Oh man. I mean, it's from the viewpoint, it's basically about Johnny Lawrence, the hero of the Karate Kid movies
The
that
real
gets
Karate Kid.
yes. And and then it brings in him and Ralph Macchio, and it just ties in all three of the movies, brings back almost everyone from them too. Um, it's so good. Like William Zabka is Johnny Lawrence, basically right now being stuck in the 80s, but then talking to like kids, like from teenagers and age and being like, stop being a nerd. It's like, what's wrong with your face?
He does it so well too. Because he played that role so many times, like he knows exactly how to do it. He's like, I did this my whole career. The storyline's good though. They do a good job with the kids and
Yeah.
building the kids' characters to where you're invested in what's going to happen with them, not just Johnny and Ralph Macchio. So that's what I enjoyed about that series a lot too, is that it wasn't super hyper focused, even though they're obviously the main reason for the show. There was a lot of good separate storylines, like with Johnny Lawrence's son, and of course Ralph Macchio's kids. They all have their own storylines. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then the ending was kind of predictable, and cheesy, but it was, it's what you wanted in the ending. You
right,
know what I mean? And that's what you kind of like. You don't want it to be like, what the hell is this? It, I want my ending.
yeah,
Because think about it. Wouldn't we all be talking about Game of Thrones if they gave a different ending to Game of Thrones?
that's a harder one for me because people think I'm so weird that I couldn't get into it. I just couldn't get into the series. Like,
Oh, that's kind of crazy. That was one of Caitlin's top
yeah.
fives was Game of Thrones. She binge watched
I
that
mean,
one.
that's probably 75% of people's top fives, somewhere in there.
And Wes hasn't seen that one either, probably.
No, no, I had the same problem with Steve. I just some of them I just can't. I can't binge watch.
Yeah.
I'll watch like 3 episodes. That's it.
Dude, if I'm really tired and I need to go to sleep, Game of Thrones, done. 5 minutes. I'm out.
Well, just like talking about Walking Dead, though, like Game of Thrones was, oh, I like this guy. Oh, he's dead now.
Right, right. I mean, I'm not, I've seen episodes, so it's not like I'm completely oblivious to it, but it's like I said, it was just one I just never could get into for some reason.
But now, Wes, you got to finish. I'm going to watch Tudors. Wes, you need to watch all of Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
You got
Cobra
homework.
Kai's worth it though, man. It's good. It gives you that nostalgic feeling too. It's great. All right, Wes, what do you got it to?
Well, this is one that I actually I got from Movie Madness some years ago, and I watched the whole thing in a row. And it's True Detective, the first season with Matthew McConaughey
Yeah,
and Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
It's so one of my favorite Matthew McConaughey series or movies. He's so good at that role. It's ridiculous. Woody Harrelson, of course, is great. Colin Farrell's in it. Michelle Monaghan. It's just something I couldn't. I had to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I could. It's like one of those series like I can't stop.
Well, because it had that level of mystery to it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a detective show, but they didn't give a lot away in the episodes. A lot of times when we watch stuff, because we watch so many movies and shows, we're like, oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, this is gonna happen. I True Detective is a little different in some of the times where you're just like, wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen. And that's what and look, I love Woody Harrelson, always have, think he's great. He didn't even come close to the performance that Matthew McConaughey gave in that series. Like he was off the chart. Most believable role I've ever seen
Yeah.
him play,
Yeah.
except maybe the one like the drug user guy was the Texas
Dallas.
one,
The
that
Dallas.
movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be the only other one, but this one he was real, real good in.
I would have thought Wooderson would have been the best.
No, that's just playing yourself. That doesn't count.
All he's doing is dude, he's playing himself in Han Solo and Solo. Like the same guy, you know?
Although I will tell you, the True Detective, it's the old best and worst golf movie joke. What's the best golf movie? Caddyshack. What's the worst? Caddyshack 2. What's the
Yeah.
greatest detective series? True Detective. What's the worst? True Detective, the second part.
Was season two Vince Vaughn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
so disappointing.
What about, and then they have a season three, and
I think they did. I didn't. I mean, like I said, once I got through, not even all the way through season two, I was like, you just ruined the show for me. And with one of my favorite actors. But good. That's a great series. Love it. All right, number one. Derek, what do you got?
this one is, I was trying to go with more shows like that were to get people to go watch that they might not have. But this one is one of the, I think, one of the top shows of all time. And I just got, I binged it, and every season tackles something different, but it's all combined for the same focus, and that's The Wire.
Another HBO.
Yeah. I think The Wire is probably one of the best TV shows of all time. And yeah, in every season it's something different, but it's the same core cast in each
Yeah.
season.
Well, it doesn't lose any steam from season to season as you're watching it. Sometimes I feel that when I'm watching a series, I can tell as I'm getting, I still want to get to the end, but I'm not as excited, or I'm losing a little bit, of that. I never had that with The Wire. That is one. I mean, there was something HBO was doing back then, you know. It was like they're putting something in the water because we were all drinking it. It was really good. I also love that the premise behind that show because I do like the criminal cop, anything that has that, I'm good with both sides of that. I love it. Wes, number one, what do you got?
I know what it is.
Again, it's something that's always on. And even though I don't, sometimes I'm like, no, I shouldn't watch this. I have to watch it. It's Sunny in Philadelphia. I mean, I mean, I can't tell you which episode is my favorite, but the dentist system, or
Oh
like
yeah.
when you like his system for seducing women. Um, but I think honestly, my favorite one's the Liberty Bell, where they get tarred and feathered. They go back. I mean, that the zombie one, I mean, but then there's some like you can't watch. Like I can't watch like the school shooting one. Like I have to turn it off. Some of you are like, I can't watch this, but some of it's like, okay, maybe. Caitlin Olsen's like one of my favorite actresses ever. Like everything she does is funny. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't even have to say anything. She's funny, you know. And Danny DeVito just really, I just can't believe how long it's been on.
Oh my
How many
gosh.
episodes? There's so many episodes I haven't seen, but I'll sit there and watch like 10 of them.
I'm just mad that that they took off of streaming Lethal Weapon 6.
There's a Lethal Weapon 6. Oh,
Yeah, you haven't seen that. Haven't seen that. Oh, It's Always Sunny then.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
Have you seen that one,
I haven't
Wes?
seen it.
No, why did they take it off?
Because Mac goes blackface.
Oh.
He goes as Murtaugh.
Oh, you got to find
I
that
didn't
one
even
on the
know about
internet.
it. Oh, we gotta find it. It's gotta be somewhere.
Oh, I mean, come on. They are the South Park of non-animation when you
Yeah.
think
Well, the
about some
whole
of their
episode they're
episodes.
talking about how messed up blackface is.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, he's dressed. He Mac is Murtaugh, and then Dennis is Riggs, and
Dude,
they're making their own Lethal Weapon 6 movie.
I was watching one the other day where they're picking kids basketball teams, and Dennis goes and picks all the black kids, and they're like, we know what you're doing, and he's like, what, so it's like, what, you can't do that, and they're just doing it on TV. You're like, this is wild. But yeah, it's so funny though. I really like the real old ones though when they first were coming
Yeah.
out because they were man, they were really into like their writing, and they weren't as much for shock and awe as they became. They were more about, let's make it funny and into a storyline.
The class reunion one was hilarious too, where he goes back, I'm the golden god. And then Caitlyn's like always the awkward one. Like, weren't she like it was like when she always had a back brace on or something? And
Right,
she's
right.
that's so hilarious.
Yeah, she's so good in that too. Yeah, I love her role. So yeah, another great one. Wow. So my number one is probably a lot of people haven't seen it, or maybe they have, they just haven't watched it fully. And this is Suits. If you haven't seen Suits, it's a lawyer based show. It's about lawyers and in a highly respected firm, and the level of just like it's an intelligent, it's funny, but it's serious, and the acting in it is spot on. You would think these people are all lawyers in some, you know, 30th level floor in New York, But the storyline is great. And as they play it out and have to go in different directions to keep it going, you're just like, what's going to happen next? What are they going to do next? How are they going to keep, this storyline going? And it just keeps you interested the whole time you watch it. And then I love that legal stuff, right? Because they're always talking about different cases and terms, and you get to hear a lot of like the stuff that we don't normally hear, or privy to some of that information of how they're getting around the system and working the system, and you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense now. Lawyers are out there doing this stuff. Um, Also, though, the co-star guy who plays Mike, they give him that unique personality. If you haven't seen it, he's like he can retain any information and keep it in his head and call it up anytime he needs, and that's a cool part of it too. So it's just a really good show, and I don't think a lot of people have seen it, but it's one of my favorites, and I will sit there and watch Suits over and over again. Doesn't matter. I wouldn't turn it off.
Are you watching Suits LA?
No,
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
I haven't watched it yet, and I probably won't because it'll ruin Suits for me.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the problem with some of the spinoffs. And that's why I mentioned The Walking Dead earlier, because their spinoffs actually didn't, give me that same feeling like when they did the um, couple different of the big actors that went and had their own different spinoffs. Where Suits LA, it's just new people. Suits in LA, it's kind of
Yeah.
lame. But first series, must watch, got to see it. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah, because the whole thing about Suits was the one character. That's what made it different, is because he was like, oh, he's not really, he's like, oh, I passed the bar and like, blah, blah, blah. And
Oh, yeah.
never went to law school and all that stuff. And
Oh, it's the best because when he's like, that's one of the best scenes is at the beginning when he's like, hey, is that a Barbary legal handbook? And he's like, yeah, he's like, open it up to any page. And he's like, read from it. And then he reads it back to him before he can finish. And the look that, Harvey, the guy, the main character gives him is the look that you would give or anybody would give and be like, how could you possibly know that?
right.
And it's like that throughout the whole show, which is great. Wow. That was probably one of the best top fives we've done. Just because all the difference in the series we had and the reasons behind them, but nothing that I would call too much mainstream either. It's not like the shows everybody watches. Um,
I got one, but it's mostly if you have kids, and parents will love it and binge watch it nonstop if they could, and that's Bluey.
oh yeah,
Bluey
I
is
watched a
one
lot of
show
Bluey.
I could watch without Grayson.
I don't know if I'm watching without my kid, but yeah, Bluey's good. There's a few good kid shows out there. I mean, growing up, obviously, when Brooklyn was growing up, I watched them all. And there's quite a few. One that I didn't mention, if I'm giving honorable mentions, you talk about some. Um, the Big Bang Theory is also one of those that I can just sit there and watch over and over and over again. It's not like as mainstream as Friends, because again, Friends was just incredible show. That's anybody watched that and it's like, wow, it was a good show. But for me, you know, that was a pretty good show. So Big Bang Theory kept my interest, very good storylines, great acting. Like all of them did such a good job. So I would honorable mention Big Bang Theory.
And I mean, we talk sports all the time, so we got to honorable mention the league.
The League. That's only for certain people though, man. Like that's hard to watch. Like Holly can't watch that.
Yeah. Well, Caitlin.
I tried to get her to watch it. It doesn't work.
Well, I already knew Caitlin wouldn't watch that. But I mean, so Oz is one that you're not going to get lots of this people to watch either.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised, you know. I mean, women are always watching serial killers and true crime, you know. Maybe there's something to that.
And then when I asked her, and this is three in the price of one, it's Law and Order, and then SVU
Right.
and Criminal Intent. She can binge watch all three of those. As you were just talking about true crime, you just there.
Yep. Well, SVU is great. Like of the three, SVU's top. That was my favorite by far.
So that's funny. Caitlin's is Criminal Intent is her favorite, and
Yeah.
for me, it's the original OG Law and Order because that one was more like split Law and Order. You know what I mean? Where
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
SVU was, it's mostly the order part.
yeah. Well, it's the acting for me in SVU was really done really well, but I know I guess I kind of like that part of the series of, you know, let's highlight what's happening out there that's really bad, special victims, right? And and make the show based on that. So
And fun fact is, Christopher Merloni was filming both Oz and SVU at the same time.
wow, putting in work.
Two totally different characters, too.
Yeah, because that's a lot. It's a lot to film TV. Any honorable mentions, Wes?
2.5 Men again,
Yeah,
just put it on.
the original was, you know, when
Yeah,
Charlie was on it, dude. Come
I
on.
can't stop watching it, and I just, yeah, yeah. When he was on it,
I turn that on from time to time from for the early episodes because it's great also when Jake, you know, the kid is young. As he gets older, I don't like him much, and I don't particularly like a lot of the acting part of it either. But when he's young, he's killing it. And Charlie Sheen obviously is Charlie Sheen. So love that one too. Yeah, it's good honorable mention there. Okay, so as we wrap up here, I'm going to throw a segment at you guys that I want to bring to later podcasts, and I'm going to kind of catch you guys off guard on this one, but it'll be quick, and we'll be able to bring this back later. So we'll do a movie review, and I know you guys hadn't had a chance to review the movie, and we'll bring in ahead of time movies for this. But I'm going to give you guys a movie, and one of you is going to do the good part, the good of the movie, and the other is going to do the bad of the movie. And I'm going to make sure it's a movie that we all know, and you don't have to research. But going forward, maybe we pick a movies, or we have to go watch over the week, or we will know them good enough. So I'm gonna give you an easy one, and let's see. Wes, you do the good, and Derek, you get the bad, if you can find any. And the movie is Back to the Future. So what's great about Back to the Future? What's bad about Back to the Future? Let's do a quick movie review, and we're gonna try to keep them older movies too, because you know a lot of the crowd, the newer crowd, has maybe not seen some of these older movies,
And most new movies suck. You see
and
the
most new movies aren't that
best
good anymore.
pictures. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So which one do you want to start? Wes, it's probably easier for you to give the good of Back to the Future.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those movies that you know the idea, just the idea of time travel, just itself is always intriguing, and the way they did it. Um, Michael J. Fox is a perfect role for him. The idea with the car, in a DeLorean, um,
and 88 miles an hour, right?
88
Like it's
miles.
so specific.
Yeah, the clock tower, like now he can't get back, and then the clock tower, like, and then it kind of changes his father's destiny by going back, standing up for himself, and it's just an all American movie. It's a classic. It's you know
They put a lot of right people in the right roles. I think when you talk about um, Michael J. Fox being perfect for it, like obviously Christopher Lloyd, don't know that you could make a better Doc Brown, right?
yeah.
Like so that's amazing casting.
Olivia,
The guy
it's
who played Biff,
Olivia.
dude. The guy who
Olivia
played Biff, like
Carr.
that's Biff. Like if that's not Biff, you can't tell me somebody else
Yeah.
named Biff because that guy is him.
And the
Played it
guitar theme was
perfectly.
awesome.
Yeah. The whole storyline is great too because yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you say it's just intriguing and how do you make a bad movie about time travel unless it's Time Cop, but you can they also play the into the storyline well with him going back and as you say, affecting his parents' future, but also how he has to like not do it, like he has to be careful, how he's interacting and that kind of plot is really great too. So yeah, a lot of goods for Back to the Future. So definitely recommended. So all right, give us the negatives, Derek.
Well, here's one thing to make you feel old. 2015 it would be the same to traveling back to 1985. Not Think about that. It's 2025 now. And if you think 85 to 55, where he went back in time, we're farther away now than when he went back in time
Right.
from when.
Yeah,
So
because
that's
it's 40
crazy.
years now, third instead of
Yeah.
30.
The only thing is, the movie's great, but I can't remember what comedian it was. It might have been Mulvaney. I'm not sure. But he brought up the point, and it makes sense. It's like, how is Marty friends with Doc Brown? Isn't that kind of weird and creepy to
Right.
be like this disgraced scientist is friends with a teenager? Like, there's no backstory. We have no idea how did they become friends.
Right.
Like, when you were a teenager, were you looking out to find a disgraced scientist to be a friend?
Yeah, well, I mean, he was kind of a loser.
He
He
was in
was
a
a
band, he was
McFly.
in a rock band, and he had a girlfriend, Jennifer.
Yeah, the that is an interesting dynamic of their friendship, which is kind of weird.
Like, you don't think about that. If you're like, yeah, that's like doesn't have like if today, like when Brooklyn becomes a teenager and she's like, oh, I'm just gonna go hang out with this old weird scientist dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, okay,
Who's
hon.
a scientist, dude? Like a scientist teacher? Like, I don't know a scientist, dude. That's the
Right.
even the more bizarre part about it.
Yeah, where are you gonna find this guy?
Yeah.
He's like, he does experiments. He's just,
Yeah, he
lives
does
in
his
this.
experiments in his garage down the street. Hey, go play with him.
I've always found the other one funny that people talk about is that then their parents don't recognize him as a kid later, after they met him when they were falling in love in the most important part of their life. They don't recognize that the dude who played the biggest role in them getting together looks exactly like their son.
Right. Or the other one was like, so his brother and sister are now different. So what happens to his memories in his life? Because obviously different things would have happened. Is it going to be like he forgets everything and his new memories come in? Or is it just like he's stuck and he has no real memories now of his childhood because they're all different?
Well, he has to, I mean, theoretically, I guess scientifically, he has to keep his original memories. He wouldn't be able to develop new memories because he didn't wouldn't exist in that timeline.
That's the downfall of time traveling. Like they're like Marty did this. No, I didn't. What are you talking about?
Dude, don't you remember when you
Right.
scored the touchdown, and you're like, no, you never played football.
But he did burn the carpet still, though, right? Remember?
Yeah.
He's like, if he burns the carpet, don't be too hard on him.
And then he has a truck for some reason already. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean there's a lot of holes, right? There's definitely a lot of
So,
holes.
so all of you that have never seen the movie, now we just completely trashed it for you. So we just trashed it. It's like we're not gonna watch this movie.
But we gave a lot of goods. There's a lot of great parts to it too. So the good outweighs the bad by far. But
Yes.
there's still some in there. It's still a great movie, highly recommended. That's our review on it. And so every podcast, I want to bring in a movie or two. We'll switch up who's reviewing them, who's doing the good, who's doing the bad, and give some extra movie reviews out there for people to watch. All right, well, that'll wrap us for HSC Podcast 144. Thanks for listening, everybody. Appreciate the views and follows and the comments as well. If there's a movie you want reviewed and you're still listening, thanks for still listening. Throw in the movie. Or maybe you skipped ahead to the end. Either way, if you heard that, let's get a comment. And then yeah, and thanks for picking up and watching the shorts too. So we'll get some shorts for our top five and some of our off-season takes from the NFL, and we'll get you going, and then we'll see you next week.